Okay, so this video is gonna do 7, 8, and 9. 7, 8, 7 is wrapping up that the exponential unit, and then 8 and 9 is the trig unit. So for 7, this is on the calculator part of the final, and all we want to do is see that you know how to put it into the calculator. So this should be the 3 easiest questions. We've already gone over how to put this into a calculator, but again, when we do that, you cannot just press log and put the base in somehow. You have to know how to do that. And that again is you're putting log, and then you put that 7,776. And then you divide it by the base. So divided by log 6. You have to make sure you type that into the calculator correctly, which I'm going to do next after I finish typing it. So log 7776. Close the parentheses, log 6. And it's 5. All right, the other two are not this nice perfect number. That's why it says round to the nearest 3 decimals. So e to the third. So again, that one's going to be second ln. So that's where you get e, and it already comes up with the exponent part. So just write a 3, and then just round appropriately. So 20.0855. So that second 5 rounds that first 5 up to a 6. And then the last one, ln of 1.6, you hit ln 1.6, and you get 0.4700. So 0.4770, and then that 0 keeps it as a 0. All right, moving on to number 8. So this is where you need that unit circle. You will be given it during the test, but it also would help you with your composition book if you have it on there, because the composition book one, at least for my class, the composition one is the one that has the tangents on it, and you will need that. So remember that the sine of an angle theta is negative square root of 2 over 2. The sine is the second one. So this is where you need to remember that it goes cosine and then sine. So cosine is the second one, and it's looking for negative square root of 2 over 2, and it's looking somewhere down here, because it's talking about point P in the 4th quadrant. So when we do that, we need to pull up our unit circle, and so I'm going to pull up my unit circle here. So here's my unit circle, the square root of 2 divided by 2 over here, where it's the sine is right here where it's 7 pi over 4. And the cosine of that is positive square root of 2 over 2. So it's 7 pi over 4. So we're going to go back to our screen. Let's see if I can share both of them. We're going to go back to our screen. And so the cosine of this one is going to be the square root of 2 over 2. And this is not going to look pretty, but the square root of 2 over 2. All right, so then when we go to write the actual coordinates of P, remember we're going to write it as cosine and then sine. So the cosine goes first. So I'm just gonna copy that. The cosine goes first, and then the sine goes second. And the sine was that negative 2 over 2 part. So I'm gonna cheat and copy that one too. There we go. So that is the point. So that's our X and our Y value for that. All right, what would the negative radians for P be? So remember, the negative radians means that we're going the opposite way. So normally when we go around the circle, we go counterclockwise. So we go all the way to here. So now they want what the negative radians would be. What would we have to do to go from here to here and using the negative part? So we can see that by figuring out what the positive part for that same spot would be up here, and then just flipping it so that way it's negative. So we go down here. So using our unit circle, the positive part would be up here would be pi over 4. So to get that same distance down, because we're starting at 0, and we would go all the way around, except for we'd be like one line short. So to go the negative way, we'd go all the way around. So it'd be pi over 4. And then we would just make it the negative pi over 4. So this will be negative pi over 4. Right, and then if we went all the way around and then went one more time around the circle, would it be 12 pi over 4 or 15 pi over 4? So again, looking at a unit circle, when we go all the way around, let me get the pens up for this one. All right, so when we go all the way around, this would be pi. This would be 2 pi. So if we're talking about 7 pi over 4 and this is 2 pi, that means that this is 8 pi over 4. Because that's how we would get 2 pi. So this is 8 pi over 4. So then this one here would be 9 pi over 4, 10 pi over 4, 11 pi over 4, 12 pi over 4, 13 pi over 4, 14 pi over 4, 15 pi over 4. So it would be 15 pi over 4. All right, so that's how we figured that out. 15 pi over 4. And then the last one for this one, mark Q and R on the unit circle rule, the tangent is equal to the value of 1. Remember, tangent is when we're dividing the sine divided by the cosine. So then we're looking, if it's going to equal 1, then we're looking on a unit circle to where they're the same number, the same exact thing. So that way, like 5 divided by 5, 3 divided by 3. So when we divide them, they would equal 1. So that means that it would be either this one, this one, this one, or this one. Well, these two, when we divide them, because one is positive and one is negative, those would make a -1. So it's got to be these two that would give us the +1. And if you're in my class, you have that in your notes. You have your tangent, so you could just look on the tangent page in your notes. So point R would go up here, and it doesn't matter if you do R up here or Q up here. This would be point R. And then point Q would be over here, or the other way around. It doesn't matter which one's Q, which one's R. All right, and then the last one is talking about the graphs for which one is sine and cosine and tangent. So the way we remember is that cosine comes first. And so if we're looking at a unit circle, cosine is starting here. So this is where cosine is starting. And then this is where sine is starting. And then to get all the way back to that same spot, we need to go all the way around it, which is 2 pi. So those two things are the things that we need to remember, is that cosine starts with 1 and goes all the way around, and it takes 2 pi to get all the way around. So then when we look back at here, we're looking for this one starting at 1, which is like cosine. This one also starts at 1, which is also like cosine. But this one doesn't get back up until 2 pi. Where this one gets all the way back to the same starting point, only at 1 pi. So this one is neither, because it gets back to the starting point too soon, and this one is cosine because it starts at 1 and takes 2 pi to return. Right, and so then that leaves that this one is sine because it starts at 0, just like the unit circle for sine, and then it takes 2 pi to return. All right, that's it for these questions. We're moving on to stats next.